So what we are going to discuss today is ORS and a little bit about diarrhea, because without diarrhea we can't discuss ORS. Now the history of success of ORS. Actually in 1953 in Lancet, Hemendra Chatterjee gave a publication, Sugar Salt Solution Can Save Cholera Patients. This is a very unique incident because very rarely do the Indians come out with new ideas and get published. As usual, in 1960s the concept was reinvented by the US man, and this time in addition he actually gave a concept of glucose linked absorption of sodium, which means it became more scientific. And now we are celebrating the 50th year of our victory of 1971 war. But we should not forget the victory of ORS, because these two are intimately connected. The miracle in refugee camps, because cholera deaths was going on like anything, and with IV fluid the death rate was 30%. And when ultimately it was shifted over to ORS, at that time it was called Orosaline, the death rate became 1/10. Such a dramatic improvement, like you avoided IV fluid and still the death has become 1/10. And naturally WHO adopted ORS as the primary tool to fight diarrhea in 1978, and Lancet described this as the most important medical advance of the 20th century. Now I'll explain a few terms in simple terms. Diarrhea is 3 or more watery stools per day. That is the standard definition. But change from routine, frequency and consistency also is diarrhea. That is important basically because toddler children, they generally pass 3-4 times a day, normally also. So a change from that is diarrhea, not 3 times always. And gastroenteritis is an old term which we used when we had diarrhea and vomiting, because the gastrointestinal tract as such is inflamed. That was the concept of gastroenteritis, which this term we no longer use. Acute diarrheal disease. That is an acute diarrhea possibly of infectious origin. And in public health setting, we take it as infectious origin. And dysentery is acute invasive diarrhea, that is the current term. That means visible blood in stools and maybe mucus as well. And associated, we can have abdominal cramps and fever as a common association. And persistent diarrhea is more than 14 days. And chronic diarrhea is possibly non-infective, like inflammatory bowel disease or other non-infective causes of persistent diarrhea. Now, what is not diarrhea is also important. For example, passage of frequent formed stool. I said in the previous slide that is very common in toddler. And passage of many stools in a breastfed infant is also taken as normal. And that is basically because every time the child takes a feed, there is a gastrocolic reflex and some small amount of stool comes out. So that is a normal phenomenon and need not be worried. And it is not a very formed stool, it is sort of pasty, basically because the stool is not remaining in the intestinal tract long enough to get all the water absorbed. So it becomes a little more watery than normal, because you can see every time it comes after a feed. Then frequent greenish yellow stools on day 3 or 4 of life is the transition stool, and that's not diarrhea. And that is slightly, that can be slightly semi-solid. And why it is not totally solid is basically because this, the meconium is a bit irritant to the intestinal tract. So there is a little intestinal hurry, and so it comes out before it gets totally dehydrated. Now, what is the importance of diarrhea? Beyond neonatal period, pneumonia is the commonest killer now, and the second is diarrhea. So that is the importance of diarrhea as a disease burden. And acute diarrheal disease can produce both dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. Both can be taken care of by ORS. And persistent diarrhea can lead on to malnutrition. And persistent diarrhea, I said, is beyond 14 days, which means you need feed the child, but in addition must correct the dehydration with ORS, because beyond 14 days you can't really continue with IV fluid. So something oral will have to go in, and hence the importance of ORS there. And in severe acute malnutrition, actually the detection of dehydration itself is a problem. Second, IV fluid is really dangerous many a time, because unknowingly we may overhydrate and kill the child. So whenever possible, stick onto ORS in a SAM child. And acute bloody diarrhea is not a very dehydrating diarrhea, but still ORS will take care of any possible dehydratation. Now a little bit of theory, it is not going to be boring, a little bit of theory. That is, intestine has got many villi that we all know. So it's something like this. This is the villus tip and this is the villus crypt. And tip is the absorbing part. So whatever you take, it will be absorbed from the tip. And this crypt secretes. So suppose an organism destroys this, which most of the diarrhea causing organism does. Then what happens? It cannot get absorbed. Whether it is ORS or your food cannot get absorbed. So what happens? Some remaining food will remain in the intestinal tract. And it is an osmotically active substance. So it will attract fluid, water into it, and thus produces a diarrhea. Second, the ORS also, here it is destroyed, so cannot get absorbed. But then can you give ORS in, this is called osmotic diarrhea, because it is the osmotic force that is drawing fluid into the intestinal tract. So in osmotic diarrhea, can you use ORS? The point is yes, and the reason is each and every villus is not destroyed. Only limited villi will be destroyed in any infection, because the intestine, adult intestine is about say 25 feet, and 10-year-old child will have half the length. So this 10 or 15 feet total villus loss is never happening. So you will have normal villi plenty to absorb ORS. But in addition, what can happen, some villi are not absorbing. So some of the ORS that you are taking may not get absorbed and come out as stools. So the point is, the ORS in an osmotic diarrhea may not reduce the diarrhea, but definitely will correct your dehydration. So this is something that we will have to tell the patient. Otherwise they will come back and tell their diarrhea is not getting corrected, and but the child is playing and all. So that is the situation that occurs in osmotic diarrhea. And in secretory diarrhea, what happens? The crypt here, the base. Here the toxin acts, and there the normal phenomenon that is happening is chloride channel secretion. So sodium, potassium, chloride, everything gets secreted. And so it is a secretory diarrhea, means a lot of fluid will come in because it is actively secreting. The other one is passively absorbing fluid into the osmotically active particle. Here it is actively secreting. Hence this is called secretory diarrhea. Secretory diarrhea is generally more severe than osmotic diarrhea, more dehydrating than osmotic diarrhea. It is like, for example, you imagine some starch somewhere there, and along the side of it some pipe of water is going. Suppose that pipe is damaged and the pipe is leaking, that is secretory diarrhea. A lot of fluid will come in. But suppose this pipe is intact and that starch is imbibing or absorbing fluid by its osmotic load, then it is osmotic diarrhea. So osmotic diarrhea is less severe as compared to secretory diarrhea. That is the first point. Second point, osmotic diarrhea definitely will have a lot of stool particles because it is an unabsorbed material. But the other one is very watery, the secretory diarrhea. So is it not better that we block the loss of diarrheal stool so that we need not replace all these things? The point is, we must allow the diarrheal stool to go out, because whatever is causing diarrhea, whether it is toxin or the organism, must be allowed to go out. If we stop that and keep it within our system, it will multiply and actually prolong the course. So let the diarrhea be there and let it heal by its natural course. We go on replacing the loss so that there is no multiplication, no unnecessary multiplication, because for multiplication you need that organism there for a considerable period of time, which if it is not there, if it is passed out, then possibly it may not multiply and produce. So this is the difference between osmotic and secretory diarrhea. Stool volume, I said, osmotic will be moderate, secretory will be very large, and dehydration naturally will be very severe in secretory, but osmotic it will be moderate. Stool reducing substance, that is unabsorbed parts of milk, that gets acted on by bacteria and acidic, it becomes acidic, and so reducing substance, because lactose is there, reducing substance becomes positive. And suppose you stop feed, the osmotic diarrhea will stop, but secretory diarrhea cannot stop because it is actively being secreted. Now the original ORS, WHO ORS, that was used in cholera outbreak in refugee camps of Bangladesh. That ORS was having an osmolality of 330 and a sodium of 90. The advantage is cholera being a secretory diarrhea, actively secreted. So that means sodium concentration is generally 100 plus. So this high sodium in the original ORS was extremely advantageous to the cholera patient. And the disadvantage is in osmotic diarrhea, suppose you give this 331, our usual osmolality is something like 290, 285. So this is hyperosmolar. So this hyperosmolar substance in the intestine may have an osmotic drag more fluid into the intestine, and the diarrhea either will remain same or actually marginally increase. But at the same time, the dehydration will be corrected, because I said there are so many normal villi available for absorption. So absorption will take place, but diarrhea may not reduce. So that was an disadvantage, because cholera is not common. Only in refugee camps, war and all, the cholera will come. Otherwise, generally it is an infective diarrhea that is destroying our villus, which is osmotic diarrhea. Osmotic diarrhea, the sodium content is something like 60, 55 like that. So this is too much, and hence it was a disadvantage, and hence UNICEF and WHO sat together and decided, okay, we will go for a low osmolality ORS, that is 245. This reduced osmolality solution actually reduced the stool volume, correct, because it is not producing an osmotic drag and adding on to the stool volume. But still, high stool volume totally taken care of? No. Why? Because although we are taking ORS, there are many damaged villi through which it cannot be absorbed. So that will come out. So stool volume may not reduce substantially, but it does reduce. Now regarding zinc, WHO has done various studies in various countries, and mainly in countries with nutritional problems. And they found that supplementation of zinc actually reduced the time of recovery from diarrhea. That is basically because to recoup our lost villus, immunological advantage, enzyme recouping, etc., zinc had a big role, and hence WHO recommended that you give zinc to any child above 2 months for 14 days in case of diarrhea. Up to 6 months 10 milligram, and beyond 6 months 20 milligram. And the ORS actually must be given, except in the unusual case of severe dehydration, must be given in small aliquots in frequent intervals. Why? Because a glassful or 2 glassful will immediately produce a gastrocolic reflux and produce a stool. And this is the difference between you all know, so I am not describing. Only thing is the osmolality is substantially less than our 285, 290 or normal osmolality of ours. And the advantage of hypoosmolar ORS is reduction in unscheduled IV fluid and reduction in stool output. Do not add extra sugar, because extra sugar will make it hyperosmolar and the diarrhea may increase. And do not use fruit juices instead of water. Again, it is lot of both osmolality and also sugar adding to. And for newborn, generally breastfed newborns can be given ORS as usual, because breast milk can dilute the ORS. But ORS once prepared can be used for 24 hours. This sugar salt solution nowadays we are not using much, and this is the original composition, but what we are doing now is 1 spoon sugar and 1 pinch, 2-finger pinch salt in a glass of water. That is easier to prepare rather than preparing only. Then we can use food-based solutions also. For example, lassi and salt, rice water and salt, salted kanji, dal water, mostly North Indians we are not using much, and home available food. Even water is okay. For example, if you are taking normal feed, that will contain sufficient salt, and so additional water is more than enough. And lemon juice with a little bit of salt, rice water, coconut water. It need not be tender coconut. Ordinary coconut that we use for cooking, that can, the water can be taken for the baby. And regarding the assessment of dehydration, you all know, I will not discuss. I will discuss just one thing, that is the skin pinch. This, when there is no dehydration, it goes back quickly, which means you pinch the skin and leave it. It just goes like a spring. In some dehydration, what happens is it goes very rapidly, but on the way back, you can actually observe a dimple. That is all. So once you note that, then it is some dehydration. And this very slowly means you pinch, and when you leave it, that tending remains for a second and then goes. So that is the difference between classic description of 1 second and all. Really doesn't help much in our clinical decision. So when a skin pinch is going back with a dimple, that is B, and when it is when you leave it, it remains for a second and then goes back. The tent remains for a second and then goes back, then it is C. Okay, plan A we all know. Treat diarrhea at home. With each stool you can give 5 to 10 ml per kg of ORS after every stool. And in the prescription, ORS must be there, because that is something that we, although we advise, we generally forget to write it in the prescription. Now, 4 rules in home treatment would be like: give extra fluid, whatever it be. As I said, even water is okay. Continue feeding, and advise the mother when to return, that will come to, and zinc for 14 days. Now, if the child is exclusively breastfed, then it is okay. I said you can give ORS. But if the child is not exclusively breastfed, then child will be taking some other milk. Can we continue that or not? See, many a time the child may not take new food, because if the child is not used to anything other than milk until diarrhea, then one fine morning if you offer the child to have something else, the child will not accept. So if that is the case, then we can give whatever milk the child is on. But one precaution, very small amount at frequent intervals, because that is the advantage, or that is why the breast milk is not producing much of rebound diarrhea or the gastrocolic diarrhea, because breast milk is available in small quantity and frequently. The same thing we will copy here. We will give it in very small quantity but frequent intervals, so that it in itself may not produce a diarrhea. And in fact, whether it is formula milk or breast milk, some milk actually is needed for the villus to grow the enzymes needed. For example, unless the milk is there, there will not be a stimulus for recouping of lactase enzyme in the villus. So some, although in a very small quantity, some milk is always necessary. Now, the other things I already discussed. All these things can be given, and teach the mother how to mix and give ORS, which I will not discuss. And how much ORS to give, I said about 5 to 10 ml per kg and all. That is not very practical. Practical would be up to 2 years, quarter to half glass. Half glass towards 2 years, quarter glass towards infancy. And 2 years and more, half to 1 glass, half glass towards 2 years, and 1 glass towards, say, school age. And when to return, the mother is told when to return, like not able to drink or breastfeed. That actually means the child is becoming drowsy, or child is breathing so fast that the child cannot feed comfortably. Fast breathing in a diarrhea is acidosis. Not able to drink consciously means the child is slipping into drowsiness. So it could mean drowsiness or acidosis, so must come back. And in the assessment of mother, if the child is sicker, whatever be the rest of the things, don't worry, let the mother come back. Develops a fever that was not there initially, blood in stools, and vomiting resulting in poor intake of fluid, for example 2 to 3 times an hour, and decreased urine output because the mother will be knowing the normal urine output of the child before diarrhea. So if it is different, then the mother must bring. Now some key facts about feeding during diarrhea. There is no basis for fasting in diarrhea, because I said the villus may be damaged, but I also said there will be thousands and thousands of villus that is not damaged. So absorption will happen. And the second thing is the quantity. Feed in small quantity but frequently, because that will avoid triggering gastrocolic reflux. And give foods that the child likes, because the food that child likes may not be the ideal food, but then we will have to trade off. Like if the child will not take anything other than milk, then the trade off would be I will be giving only small quantity, but I will give it repeatedly, like that. And do not give any sugary drinks, fruit drinks, or cola. Even cola contains substantial amount of sugar, like 11 per 100 ml. Plan B means there is some dehydration. So you keep the child for 4 hours in observation, and in these 4 hours we try to correct dehydration using ORS 75 ml per kg. So my usual policy is, in this 4 hours I usually do not offer other foods, because I do not want the stomach to be full with other foods, and so the child cannot take a required amount of ORS. Because at the end of 4 hours we will have to make a decision whether the dehydration is corrected or whether the child can go home, etc. So if possible, offer no food but go on with ORS. But this is not a hard and fast rule. If the child is not taking anything else and is adamant on having something, definitely give something like idli or even milk. But when it is milk, must be small quantity. Very, very important. And after 4 hours, reassess and reclassify, because after 4 hours, maybe he has become plan A or he has deteriorated to plan C. So that is the importance of reclassify. Suppose he is reclassified as A, he will be going home. If he is reclassified as plan B, he is going to remain here for another 4 hours. So that is the importance of reclassification. And plan C is IV fluid. This regime you all know, 100 ml per kg, Ringer lactate or saline. Under 12 months, 30 ml per kg in 1 hour and 70 ml per kg in 5 hours. And older children, it is half hour and 2.5 hours. We may be wondering, is it not too much fluid in too little time? So actually, this is originally it used to be corrected in 24 hours. Half in 8 hours and the remaining half in 16 hours during our time. But then we realized that when we started IV and planned for 16 hours, it just went in 2-3 hours and nothing happened. We became wiser. And also thinking logically, suppose you have a lot of diarrhea, you are going to take glass full of water, 1 or 2 glass full of water, not really water in spoon for an hour or 2. So this taking water as a gulp is physiological only, but only unphysiological thing is if you take orally, it will take something like 3-4 hours to get absorbed into our system. So that 3 hours we are giving here. So this is totally physiological, not overloading our circulation. And management of dehydration in a severely malnourished child is a challenge. Always try to avoid IV fluid, because IV fluids many a time can produce cardiac failure and death. So use ORS whenever possible. There is something called a Risomal, which is not available commercially. So what we are using is ORS 1 packet dissolved in 2 liter instead of 1 liter, and to that we add additional glucose and potassium. And diagnosis of dehydration in a severely malnourished child is simply challenging, difficult, nearly impossible. So just assume that there is some dehydration in any child with severe malnutrition and diarrhea. If the diarrhea is significant, consider that the child is dehydrated. And if we are forced to give IV fluid in a SAM case, for example, kwashiorkor child, he may not take anything, even otherwise. So if he is not taking anything, then you are back to the wall. You have to do something. So in that case, there are two options. One is put in a tube and give ORS as a drip, or give IV fluid. And when we are giving IV fluid, we must monitor closely for increase in heart rate, respiratory rate, liver size, or any respiratory distress, because these are all the pointers towards a cardiac failure, because this Kwashi child is notorious to go in for cardiac failure and die. So that is why, as far as possible, try to give it as a Ryle's tube feeding of ORS rather than IV. This is an entity that we come across very often, chronic non-specific diarrhea of toddler. Usually the toddler gets an acute diarrhea, and then it goes on having 4 or 5 stools every day, but it is a nearly formed stool. It is basically because of the rapid intestinal transit, and the stool is a bit greenish because the bile is not getting totally absorbed before that it is coming out, because there is not enough time, and the mother may be complaining undigested rice, carrot, etc. is coming out. Again expected, because the food is not remaining in the intestinal tract long enough for a full absorption. So undigested particle also can come out. So this is something that will cause anguish in mother, and the mother will bring the child. And the most important thing is, child will be playing and running around. Only problem is, off and on he goes to the toilet. So what we can do, the main problem is rapid intestinal transit. So how can we reduce the intestinal transit? One is a lot of fiber, second is fat. Suppose you take a fatty food, then you will not feel like taking another food for a long time. So that is because it is the emptying is delayed. So that is what we want here. We want to increase the fat and fiber so that intestinal transit becomes slower. And once it becomes slower, the excess water will get absorbed and the stool will become normally formed. And regarding diet, fluid, of course, if the child is taking extra fluid, that is likely, because all these things start with an acute diarrhea. So during that time the child was taking a lot more fluid, and that may continue. So if that is continuing, reduce it to normal. And all the fruits, fructose, cut it off. And another thing in this non-specific diarrhea of toddler, the other thing that you have to look at is whether the osmotic load is high. For example, the child is taking Coca-Cola frequently. That is a common thing that we see. So then you just cut off that Coca-Cola, and that will take care of this toddler issue. Antibiotic, we all know. Bloody diarrhea we give, cholera we give. But SAM, whether you have an evidence of infection or not, always give antibiotic. That is our policy. And of course, associated infection can produce diarrhea. It was earlier called parenteral diarrhea, which means you have a pneumonia, you have a diarrhea. That is basically because of the permeability increases. So intestine also, although intestine is not infected, the permeability gets increased and you can have a diarrhea. So that will settle once the primary infection is treated. And sports drinks, there are so many ORS like sports drinks that is coming. That is not ORS. That is for post-exercise drink. That is used as a post-exercise drink, not as ORS. And